So, you just got 7 days to die or are looking to get back into it? Well, you've picked a great place to start. Today I'm going to give you a rundown on how to spend the first couple of days in 7 days to die, what to watch out for, and how to avoid dying horribly in your first week. When you first start your world in 7 days to die, you'll have a notification at the top right of your screen. This will tell you how to open the challenge menu, and from here you can track the tutorial quest. You want to do the tutorial quest every single time you play 7 days to die because you get 4 free skill points for doing it. The tutorials are fairly obvious. They'll give you yellow icons above every item you need to harvest, wood from these bushes, fiber from this grass, stones from stones, and indeed feathers from this. Then you'll be told to craft and wear a primitive outfit, but you want to make sure that you search primitive in the search bar on your crafting interface and make all 4 pieces of the primitive armor. It costs almost nothing, and wearing all 4 pieces will give you 32% damage resistance right at the start of the game. You'll then craft your club, which is an excellent starting weapon by the way, but you'll need feathers for arrows. You can get these from birds' nests, which look like this. You loot them by pressing E, but as a little tip, instead of just taking the feathers, open the nest, close it without taking anything, break the nest with your axe, and you'll get a few extra feathers, and then the loot from inside will drop on the ground and you can get the feathers from inside as well. You have to do it in that order to get it because it's just a weird mechanic. Now at the start here you might be tempted to break these tree stumps for wood, but do be careful. As you can see perfectly in my example gameplay, this can spawn bees which will damage and slow you. On the plus side, if that does happen to you, you'll get honey, but don't eat it yet. Honey can cure infections, so if you ever see this icon on your screen, eat some honey as long as the number next to it is less than 5. By the way, you can get honey from these stumps some of the time without spawning the bees. It's kind of a 50-50. Now that the tutorial challenge is done, reopen the challenge menu, redeem all the challenges you've completed, and get your 4 skill points. Skill points are the main currency of leveling in this game. You use them to buy perks. These improve your character's abilities in various ways. There are a lot of different ways you can start your character off with those 4 free skill points. Every build in 7 days to die is built on an attribute like perception, strength, fortitude, agility, and intellect. The easiest one to start with as a new player is definitely strength. You get a good gun, you get 2 good melee weapons, and it's also the tree that governs mining, carry capacity, and its mastery perk is very powerful. My recommendation would be to put 2 points into strength. This will unlock higher levels of all the perks in strength, and then put 2 points into pummel peep. All this combined will get you 20% more headshot damage with all strength weapons, 10% more dismemberment chance with all strength weapons, 20% more damage with clubs, 80% more damage with clubs to knocked over opponents, and as a little tip, most zombies will fall over at half health, meaning if you can get a zombie to half health with your club, this will pummel them very well, allowing you to finish fights much faster. In addition to that, power attacks have a 70% chance to keep an opponent knocked down if they have been knocked over, so once the zombie gets to half health, you have a 70% chance to keep them knocked down with every power attack. This is a stun lock, and it's very powerful, especially for new players, and you'll use 30% less stamina to attack with your club, as well as finding more clubs and club parts and loot. This is going to benefit you a lot more than mixing up your build with a variety of survival skills across various different perks and attributes. But do feel free to try another attribute. I just recommend sticking with one for the first 10 or 20 levels of your build. On lower difficulty, these damage perks are less important, but the number one way you are going to die in this game is going to be losing health to zombies. So if you can reduce the amount of time you are in combat with zombies by killing them faster, you'll probably survive longer. Speaking of fighting zombies, you'll be given a marker to go to the trader, and you'll want to do that, but on the way you might end up in a fight with zombies. So here's the 5 key things to remember when taking on zombies in 7 days to die. Number 1. Aim for the head. It might sound obvious, but they do take a lot more damage, meaning the fight ends faster, you use less stamina, and you take less damage. Power attacks are generally more efficient for killing because they do more damage and have higher knockdown and dismemberment chances, but light attacks are better if you're having severe stamina issues, like if you're dehydrated or starving. Every time you heavy attack, you'll have a few seconds before your stamina starts regenerating. Light attacks don't, so in some situations you may want to light attack. Next key thing to always remember is movement. Always. That was 4. 4 always is. There's a 5th one. Keep moving. backwards. Especially when you're new and playing on default settings, there really isn't any excuse to actually get hit by zombies if you have room behind you. Just move backwards. Point 4 is stamina management. As I mentioned before, power attacks are more stamina draining but generally more time efficient at killing zombies. But another aspect of stamina management you'll want to consider is trying to keep yourself above 50% stamina at all times, even when you're just walking around. You don't want to go sprinting around to the point of 0 stamina or jumping around for no particular reason, because you don't want to go around a corner or have a wandering horde running towards you and get into a fight with a zombie and you've got no stamina, because it's just going to get free hits on you. Drinking things generally makes your stamina regenerate faster, and eating food usually gives you a higher max stamina, so keep that in mind when managing your food and water as well. And the last point to keep in mind is that you can avoid fights with zombies if you just don't want to fight them yet. You do this by throwing stones. Whip some on your hotbar, click down and hold, and then throw it. If the zombie isn't aggro to you, it'll run after the rock. I use rock throwing almost constantly when playing on hardcore settings like Insane Nightmare, where every zombie can easily kill you if you're not careful. So, you are heading to the trader. On your way to the trader, if you run into a gore pile on the ground, go ahead and hit it with your axe. This will give you bones. You can use these to make glue, but more importantly right now, you can use them to make a knife, which is a weapon, but also a tool. You'll need it to skin animals and get meat later. Now, we want to go to the trader because they're a powerful addition to your playthrough, especially again for new players, and they have a lot of useful stuff for you. When you go inside, you'll meet Trader Rect. He's a prick, but he'll give you a free shovel. Ask him if he has a special job, and he'll send you on a buried supply mission. This is your first quest, and you'll get a free gun and a magazine of ammo for doing it. Before you leave the trader, you're also going to want to loot his compound. All of this stuff is free, most of it is useful. I'd also recommend before you head out on this buried supply mission, make yourself a writable storage crate. Place it outside his compound somewhere, because you can't build inside the trader, and you'll be kicked out at night, so you want a crate outside so that you can get anything useful anytime of day there, and you want to dump almost anything that isn't immediately useful to you. You're going to want to keep like stone, wood, arrows, any health or food items you might need soon, and that's about it at this stage in the game, as well as your weapons on your hotbar, of course. And the reason you're doing this is because you don't want to become encumbered, because it'll slow you down, and if you're slowed down, even on the slowest zombie speeds, they will just outpace you, and you'll take a lot of damage from that, so avoid. By the way, if you do end up finding this video helpful, or you found it helpful so far, I would really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button. We're trying to hit 100,000 subscribers in 2026. It's going to be a hard goal, and I need every subscriber I can get if we want to hit that in time. Right now, we're just under 82,000. So if you want more 7 Days to Die tutorials like this and want to help me hit my goal, hit that subscribe button. Let's head back to the video. If, like me, when recording the video for this, your quest hasn't automatically equipped, open up your inventory, head over to the quest tab here, click Intro to Buried Supplies, and then press on the compass icon. This will track the quest and show you exactly where to go. On your way to quest, make sure you search these mailboxes on the side of the road. They often have skill magazines and books, which will make you a lot more powerful and better at crafting throughout the game. When you reach the quest location, you'll find a flag. This is how all quests are started, and you want to activate it to start the quest. Once you're there, you can't leave the area of that quest or it will fail. This applies to all quest types. For this one, you'll see an orange ring on the ground, and this is the radius the hidden chest will be in. Digging will cause this to reduce periodically, eventually showing you pretty much exactly where the box is. It will be a few blocks down in this circle somewhere. It will never be below the stone level, as far as I've ever seen in my like 3.5 thousand hours in this game. You want to dig with a shovel, of course, not your stone axe, and when mining and digging you generally do want to just light attack, because power attacks drain stamina faster, and it generally won't help you mine any faster unless it's in a few specific circumstances, but this isn't one of them. Now that you've got your buried supplies, you'll want to head back to the trader. For this quest, Rect will give you the choice of 4 guns and a pipe baton. You pretty much always want to take the pipe machine gun. Unfortunately, I misclicked and took the pipe rifle, which was very silly. The pipe machine gun uses 7.62 ammo, meaning it does very high damage, and you find it in quite high quantities in the world, compared to something like shotgun shells. It has a 15-round magazine, allowing you to deal the absolute highest DPS of the 4 starting guns. This pipe rifle I accidentally picked may well be the worst option. Perhaps the pipe shotgun would be worse, but I'll survive. At this point, it's time to decide your next move, and of course this is a survival game, so you're gonna need food, water, and shelter. Luckily, Trader Rect has an answer to all of these problems. for food, you can just buy some from him because that's his specialty. He's the food trader. But you will need money for that, and you'll have to get that by selling him things or doing jobs for him. For drinks, you can buy some from him again, or you can take a look at the vending machines behind you. These often sell basic food and water that can keep you going at the start of the game, but you will need to do jobs or sell stuff to buy them. If you want to solve the water issue more permanently, you're going to need a campfire, but first, let's get you a base. The easiest way to get yourself a starting house in 7 Days to Die without having to build one, which can be very time consuming, is to talk to Rect and ask for a job. This will send you to various tier 1 locations nearby, which can be a good way to find a POI that you can actually clear and live in without getting yourself killed. If he doesn't have any good houses, then just walk around and look for a POI which has one skull next to its name. This is a tier 1, meaning it's one of the safest types of POIs in the game, and you can expect it to be pretty chill. If you eat something at this point in the game, by the way, you'll see a smell icon on the right. This makes zombies more aggressive. You're going to want to find yourself a water source and crouch through it until you get a little bit wet to clean the smell away. However, if you've picked up any raw meat at this point, you can craft it into raw meat bundles, which will obscure the smell, or you can store it somewhere. Otherwise, you're going to attract zombies. The first POI I was given as a quest wasn't the greatest starter home, so I'm going to go across the street to this tier 1 and I'm going to clear it. Most POIs have an intended clearing route, so generally look for the path of least resistance when clearing POIs. You'll want to loot almost every container in POIs. Even if you don't pick everything up, it just doesn't hurt to check what they have, because sometimes you'll get something good. Tier 1 and above quests all have a loot room at the very end that you should always find and loot because it has the best stuff in there generally. If you run into an office chair like this, be sure to pick it up, open your inventory and press scrap on it. These are 6 leather each, and you want 10 leather as soon as possible for a forge. If you get into a fight you can't handle in one of these POIs, use doors to your advantage to restore stamina and hold them off. And of course, if you're really struggling, be sure to use your bow and crouch to get stealth attacks to soften up the zombies or even kill them on certain difficulties. Once you've cleared the POI, you'll want to find a room that's particularly secure, preferably upstairs if your POI has one. Make yourself a bedroll, a campfire, and a crate. You may want to craft yourself a door and replace one of the existing doors if your POI, like mine, was all locked doors. If you placed a bedroll or a land claim, you'll have a compass marker at your house, meaning you can find it again easier. Now, I'd recommend heading back to the trader again, gathering up all the stuff you left there, and in the quest if you did one, and check his inventory before he closes just before nightfall, which happens to be at 10 PM. At night, zombies start to run and harder zombies spawn, so early on it's best just to hide in your base, manage your storage, craft stuff, and maybe mine if you have access to the underground. At Trader X, you're going to want to sell off anything you don't need to get yourself a cooking pot for 600 dukes, but make sure you don't sell off any mechanical parts you have, as they'll be powerful later. It's unlikely, but also if you have like acid or a beaker, probably don't sell those either. If you don't have enough money though, don't worry, you can also loot a cooking pot from various kitchens in the world, or craft one with a forge, which is the most reliable way to do it. In order to get a forge, which you'll need if you didn't get a cooking pot on day 1, because your water is going to start running out soon, and you'll need it for other things later on, you'll need to find 3 additional Forge Ahead skill magazines. These are most commonly found in cement mixers and forges. They have a 75% chance of spawning there. There is, however, one of each of those inside Trader Rex, so chances are, if you looted his POI thoroughly enough, you left with 2 of those anyway. Find the other one. Your best bet is to explore and look for another cement mixer. I found one at the Garage First Construction POI, which is a very common location to find, and at the end of the street there is this little POI tile that you're going to get very familiar with if you put a lot of hours in this game. It has a working stiff tools truck, a crane, and a ditch with a dog in it. There's also a cement mixer, which will almost always give you a Forge Ahead. Combining all those, you will have 3 Forge Aheads quite comfortably, and you can make a forge. The next major limitation is going to be leather. The office chairs I showed you earlier are of course probably the best source of them. You can find 2 of those, you're good. If not, you can kill animals like rabbits or dogs. I would not recommend fighting a dog right now if you're new to the game, but yeah, you know, you've got that pipe machine gun, you could do it. But the easiest is to use your stone axe on booths in various diner POIs like this one. I, however, found 2 leather office chairs in the entrance of this daycare. In general, if you think a building might have like desks and computers, you can usually bet that there's going to be an office chair at one of those. You're also going to need 50 cobblestone, which is just made from stone and clay in your inventory, and I'm sure you've figured out how to get both of those by now. A log, which is crafted with 10 wood, 3 duct tape, which you may have looted from trash, but you can also craft it from glue and cloth, which you will have also likely looted from several of these trash bags throughout the day. If not, keep an eye out for them on the second day. You will find a lot of these trash bags. They're your main source of a lot of things early on. And then you're going to need short iron pipes. You'll probably also loot these during the day, but if you don't, get your stone axe and hit any sinks, toilets and baths you find, and once you've got all that, just craft your forge and place it down. Now to use it, you want to put some fuel, like say wood, in the fuel slot, and put some scrap iron and some clay in the 2 smelting slots. This will slowly smelt these 2 resources into your forge to be used, and once some of that has smelted in, click on the last tab of the crafting menu in the forge or search for cooking pot, and once you've got the resources, craft one, and you can also get a grill here if you'd like. You won't need your forge for much else in the very first couple of days, but it's a good idea to just throw scrap iron and clay in there whenever you find it and smelt it into forged iron, because you will need probably a couple of hundred of that in the next week. So your campfire is where you craft food and drinks. If you have a cooking pot, you can turn murky water into clean drinkable water. You may have collected some empty jars over the past day, and you can fill those at any water source by right-clicking with the jars equipped. And there you go, water should be largely solved for you, even if you have jar refund rate set to 0%, as it would be by default. You'll likely loot enough jars and murky water to keep yourself going as long as you have a water source and a campfire. Here, you can also cook food. Be warned though, if you're playing with no jar refunds, which again is the default, making boiled eggs is never worth it because you lose a jar but get no water from it. You might be starving at this point if, like me, you found no food on the first day, but just try to not burn too much excess stamina and health during the night, and wait until morning so you can safely go out and search for food on day 2. If you have any eggs, you can actually eat them raw with no negative effects, which is what I did. It's a bit wasteful, but eggs are extremely common, so I wouldn't stress about it too much right now at the start of the game. In order to cook foods, you're going to need to get better at cooking, which is done by finding skill magazines. When we search for food tomorrow, we'll almost definitely find at least one. So it's 4 AM in the next morning, or you're halfway through the first day because you're going much faster than I was, and you are free to keep playing the game without worrying about the dangerous zombies, but you may find that it's raining if it is day 2. If it is, take out your torch that you got at the start of the game. This will keep you warm in the rain. 7 Days to Die has a temperature mechanic which is a bit deeper than the scope of this video, but if you're in the forest biome and it's night or raining, a torch will keep you going. A campfire will also help, but that's not mobile. So for food, you've got 3 main options at the start of the game: looting, scavenging, which are different, and hunting. Hunting is a bit of a pain in the ass, but if you happen to see an animal that you can safely kill, just go ahead and shoot it and skin it with your knife. Be careful of boars though, they're a lot tougher than they look, and they will fight back. Scavenging is good if you're lucky and have some nearby farms. I'm gonna put my first level 2 skill point into living off the land to gather twice as many crops as normal when harvesting plants. We'll cover looting food in a second. For now, let's show scavenging. If you find a farm with green corn stalks, these can be hit for food. You may also find things like potatoes or pumpkins growing in various other farms. Eating raw corn isn't great, but if you do get a grill and 1 skill magazine, you can cook it into a food that gives 10 food. But you'll need water to offset how dry these foods are. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. The house I was sent to had crops inside and a kitchen, and we want kitchens for those cooking skill magazines. And luckily I did find one, which lets me bake potatoes and grill corn. These are vital early game food sources if you don't want to rely on vending machines, as I said. You can see I came out with 18 corn and 4 potatoes, which is a couple of days worth of food if I grill it and bake it, but I will need water to counteract the dehydration of it. So what about looting? Well, looting is a good idea for early food because you can get some high ticket items that will hold you over for a couple of days, but it's more luck dependent than the last one. For this, we want to head into town and find a commercial area. You can tell you're in a commercial area because the roads will be wider and there'll be a lot of shops around. Almost every town is going to have some kind of diner or fast food place, and you're going to want to start your search for food here for a few specific containers. First, any drinks containers you find, like these boxes of beer or coffee machines, are going to have a chance to give you drinks, or jars, which you will of course need for hydration. Then you want to look out for food piles like these. The small ones will give you canned foods and occasional pieces of meat, but bigger ones have chances for even better stuff. Make sure you're searching all the cupboards in these POIs because they have food like corn and potatoes and cooking skill magazines in them. You also want to search these sealed shamway crates, however mine had nothing in them. I went to another POI and this time I got lucky. I got a hobo stew, which is a very powerful food item, in the end loot container. But that actually had nothing to do with the fact I was in a diner. That's just an item that can spawn in tier 1 end loots regardless of which location you're in. Alright, with food, water, shelter and basic combat covered, we have one last thing to cover for your first couple of days: questing. So now that you have your basic needs met, it's time to get a job in a vehicle. You want to get to questing so that you can get money to buy stuff, but also get rewards for the quests. But you can also unlock higher tier quests, which give you more money, XP, and rewards. And you get quest tier completion rewards. If you navigate back to your quest tabs, you'll see tier 1, 1 out of 10, or however many quests you've done so far. Once you get this up to 10, you'll get a reward, and one of the guaranteed rewards that you absolutely almost always want to take is the bicycle. This will save you a lot of time and save you a lot of deaths as well. If you want to just rush to the bicycle as fast as possible, take fetch jobs, which are as close as possible to you because these can be completed by just going in, getting the satchel and leaving, freeing up more time to do more quests and other stuff. Oh, and by the way, at this point, if you've not already done this, go into your challenges tab from the start of the game and redeem any of the completed ones. You'll get a bunch of XP. I got a whole level from doing this at this point. There's a bunch of good rewards in there as well, and it'll also tutorialize a whole lot of the useful stuff for you in 7 Days to Die, so be sure to take a look through all these challenges if you're ever curious how to find certain materials. So the next thing for you to worry about after you've done all of this is to prepare for the Horde night at 10 PM on day 7. It is 7 Days to Die after all. You'll want to collect ammo and building materials and either build a horde base, which I would recommend looking on YouTube for a tutorial for one, or sit on top of a roof of a concrete or stone building and hope for the best. You're going to have to fight or at least survive until 4 AM, and then you'll have another week to prepare for an even harder horde. But that's all I have time for today. I hope this prepares you for your first couple of days and gets all your basic needs met in 7 Days to Die. And make sure you got food, shelter, drinks, and you can actually fight the zombies and progress your character. If you want even more 7 Days to Die tips and tricks, check out this video popping up on screen right now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.